Welcome, everybody, once again to the Dynasty Pulse right here on Fantasy Sports Advice Network. I am Bigz. I have Grindberg with me. Coach is down there. We got Chev in the building and Schultze. You guys, tonight is a very, very special night for a few reasons. First of all, those who have been with Mike and I on the Dynasty Pulse for a while know that we are dynasty based, but we do dabble in other things. We have Scott Fishbowl live drafts. We have the Battle of the Sexes live drafts, etc. Tonight we're doing the show is kind of geared towards another platform, not necessarily Dynasty, but stick around because you have to know about this platform. Secondly, those who have been watching Mike and I for a while know that about, I don't know, exactly a year ago, we were looking for a producer and we onboarded a guy named Schultze.
Hey,
and
that's
so
me.
Tonight is our first anniversary, you guys. Happy anniversary,
Hooray!
Schultze.
Thank you.
All
Happy
right.
to be here.
Yeah. So on top of that, we have a special guest. And without this person, this likely wouldn't be happening right now. See, a while ago, Mike and I got together. We were podcasting and everything, and we both got hooked up with Player Profiler. Through Player Profiler, we got hooked up with Bradley Stalder. Bradley Stalder decided that he was going to have us put this show on Fantasy Football Plus, and we're ever grateful to Bradley. Today happens to be the day that Fantasy Football Plus went away. So thank you, Bradley, because this wouldn't have happened without you. So Mike and I are together. We're writing for Player Profiler, and we have this show. We meet Coach Retzlaff through Player Profiler. We meet Chev through Player Profiler. Chev and I are doing our other thing. We met Schultze because we have this show. So all of us are together because of Player Profiler. And Player Profiler is here because of our guest. We are excited to have Matt Kelley, the Podfather, on the show this week. He launched Fast Draft about a year ago. It's a new fantasy app that allows you to draft faster than ever. I like to say on my shows, if you like drafting and you want to draft faster with a Faster app. The best ball tournaments are for big cash prizes and mock drafts to sharpen your skills all around, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Matt founded playerprofiler.com to have a dedicated platform to bringing sports analytics to football fans and fantasy gamers. All of us in this virtual room have been successful because we use the tools available on playerprofiler.com. So go get your subscription. Also, we're going to be talking about Fast Draft. You want to download the Fast Draft app at fastdraft.app. So basically, playerprofiler.com started as a hub for podcasts, Mind a Mansion, Sonic Truth, Top 10 Takeaways, Waiver Wire, The Decision Point, Thursday Night Tailgate with Bigz and Grindberg. Totally perfect for helping you make the best picks in your fantasy leagues. There's also Fantasy Football Now, Plus, where we all have content. Matt is still hands-on with designing new features for Player Profiler and its mobile apps, like the Injury Finder, the ever-important Breakout Finder that helps you win big in fantasy football. So let's chop it up with Matt about his journey and get some awesome insights into the world of fantasy sports and Fast Draft.
Yo!
Matt Kelley, what is up?
That's a great introduction. Wow. I'm honored. That was really nice.
Welcome to the Dynasty Pulse, Matt. I think Bigz did a pretty awesome intro. He told a lot about what you're doing right now, but continue that torch. We're going to pass it on to you. Tell us everything that you've got going on right now. I know Fast Draft's a huge focus for you right now, so tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna talk some football here today. That's first things first, is we love football. And you know, I built Player Profiler because I was collecting all this data for the podcast and decided I should just put this out there so everyone can see it, because I set it up so, like, you know, basically Player Profiler was designed to help someone podcast, look up players on the fly and get some stats you can talk about on the fly. And when you watch like a show like the Mind a Mansion show or something like that, you can see I'm doing that on the show. I'm pulling up the player as we're talking about him. I'm pulling him up on the screen. And that just sort of kind of worked out. That it turns out the way that a podcaster might want to look up players and consume fantasy data is the way that most people would. So that made sense. And then, recently we rolled out this Fast Draft app because people love fantasy, but there's been so much innovation in the pick'em space and with betting, but fantasy, it was a little bit left behind. And I was always thinking, man, there's got to be more that we can do with best ball. So we rolled out this Flex 4 game where you draft any 6 guys, the top 4 into your lineup every week. So you can draft in like 6 minutes. You can put together like 150 teams, a whole portfolio of teams. There's an all rookie game called Origins, where you draft 6 rookies and the top 4 into your lineup every week. And in our rookie drafts in Dynasty, we're drafting, 4, 5, 6 rounds of rookies. And so it just aligns perfectly with a best ball tournament where, hey, I'm just going in, I'm drafting 6 guys every week. I know the top 4 are going to score. And we're also rolling out like more of a traditional best ball game that's not just draft 6 super quick. It's draft 15, but it's still fast, right? It's still going to be faster it's going to be at least twice as fast as your average best ball tournament. So the big complaint people have with a lot of this off-season fantasy is that the drafts take too long. And so the Fast Draft solves that. So that's the whole genesis of the idea. And as it turns out, it's a pretty good platform. We're indebted to the developers, designers that made it happen. Check it out for yourself at fastdraft.app. And you can see why it's so popular, right? We have another tournament, another rookie tournament. Origins Chaos 2 is about to fill. It's like over 80%. And then we're going to roll out the next one. The next rookie tournament is going to be the big one. It's going to be the $50,000 prize pool one, where you can max enter. You could probably draft at least 75 teams in that, and you can show your receipts, right? So like Chev can show his receipts. Hey, when I was drafting on Fast Draft in March, I'm at 35% Kyle Williams, right? Just like Cody Carpentier is like, I'm at 55% RJ Harvey. So that's what you love to see. Exploitable ADPs, that's what you have right now, even though it's not way too early. It's just early now. It was way too early. And now I think you could just say it's early. And we're still early, still very exploitable. And the Flex 4 game, where people were drafting rookies before the draft, was very exploitable. So there, you could see Judkins, Trevion, Tet McMillan going 6th round in that contest. And now, the draft happens. They all land well. No surprise. Suddenly they're going a round or 2 earlier. But, at every point in the season, there are exploitable ADPs. But you can optimize how much you're exploiting if you can draft more. So if you can do a bunch of drafts in an hour, that's you're exploiting a lot more than if you can only grind out 1 draft per hour. So you think about it like that. There's a lot of ways to think about it with fantasy gamers that are serious and feel like they have some edge, that this Fast Draft game would appeal to them.
And I think the best thing about it, especially pre-NFL draft and throughout the summer, is that you have DGens like us who are, putting together shows and putting together mock drafts. And so we're drafting rookies from basically February through now. And there's nothing to show for it because it's a mock draft. We're basically kind of getting an idea of where the market is and everything. But Fast Draft, you're putting your money where your mouth is, and it pays off at the end. And you can do that as early as January, February, whenever the game rolls out. So it's not for nothing. It's you're getting that edge because you're doing the reading, you're watching the shows and everything, and you have more information than the next guy. And it's a beautiful, beautiful platform. And
I mean, Cody Carpentier was victory lapping with 100% validity and justification, with sitting there with 55-60% RJ Harvey. I mean, when you're getting RJ Harvey in round 3, and now he's a first rounder, like, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. just whoa. And just where Tootin was going even, and it wasn't even like it's not like he was like a early round pick or anything, but still he landed well. And like, oh wow, this guy has some serious, like, not just raw upside, but he has some real contingent upside. Things break his way. Whoa, Bashal Tootin. So, and then there were some players that it's not going to happen this year, right? Luther Burden, not going to happen. So anyone that was drafting him at that 1-2 turn, whoops, right? Now maybe the interesting conversation is, okay, so this fast draft is just for 2025, but in Dynasty we have these guys for their careers, so maybe I need to be focused on this year for sure, because guys are crew value if they hit, but they're not dead if they don't. Bottom line is, you want players that are going to do well this year in Dynasty. There's going to be a Rome Odunze that doesn't necessarily perform well, but he has enough draft capital and there's enough to like he gets the offensive coordinator and he has the quarterback going in his second year and all these things and no Keenan Allen. So yes, there are cases where everything falls into place to propel a player into year 2 after underwhelming in year 1. Literally everything has to fall just right, like Rome Odunze, for his Dynasty stock not to fall significantly. Otherwise, you're Keon Coleman, you're oh my God, you're Xavier Leggett, like you're dead. Right now, Keon Coleman's not dead, but based on what we saw last year, it's a very big concern. Leggett is dead because they drafted Tet McMillan to take his job. So we saw I actually thought, maybe I could be crazy, but maybe I thought Leggett played better than Coleman last year, but the Panthers sent the message that the Bills did not send. So now, of course, I would rather have Coleman, but right. Anytime you're drafting Jonathan Brooks, anytime you're drafting players that are not going to perform in year 1 in Dynasty, or that you can't necessarily project for big numbers, like a Luther Burden, like a Egbuka, I don't know what you're doing, man. Like, you're not getting production this year, and even if you're in a rebuild, it's not like you're accruing value to maybe trade for future first rounds. I don't know what you're doing.
Hey, Matt, first time, long time. Going back to your Fast Draft app, a cool thing out there is capacity in everyone from COVID, right? They have 20, 30 Dynasty leagues, and then they drop them. There's turnover there. Best Ball affords you that opportunity to go beyond capacity. But there is one element of management to these Fast Draft tournaments. Speaking to Cody Carpentier for his high RJ Harvey exposure, how can a gamer strategize with how they allocate where their flex is lined up? So Carpentier, Cody's got a great edge right now, 3rd round to 1st round. But how can the fantasy gamer utilize some strategy for the flex spots?
Well, yeah, so it's all flex. All these the games we have now are all flex. Even the defense game, we have a D-up game, all defense. And basically you just draft any defensive player and the top 4 into your lineup. You don't have to worry about what position they play. We do have these boosters, and the boosters are like, 2x, 1.5x. So if a guy gets injured in training camp, one of the nice things about the boosters is if a guy gets injured in training camp, tears an ACL, you can nerf his booster and minimize the damage, right? Or if a guy that you drafted in the 6th round, suddenly he's elevated throughout training camp, you can tag him with a higher booster because it does, the boosters don't lock until the season starts.
Yep.
So that's a nice little element. It's all optional. The boosters get set as soon as the draft happens, and then you can tweak them as you go. So what Cody can now do is he can go and look at some of these teams that were Harvey was defaulted to a low booster because he was a 3rd round pick, maybe even a 4th round in some cases. And he can go jack the booster up. He can even have a couple RJ Harvey in the number 1 booster chair. And now he's even more unique because, there's other people that drafted Harvey but maybe they didn't have the foresight to go jack the booster up. So he might be up against, let's say he's in the standings. It's late in the season and he's up against a bunch of other RJ Harvey teams, right? That makes sense.
Yep.
But they might have had him at a lower booster level than Cody did because he went and he had the foresight to go tweak those boosters before the season started. So that's an extra little strategy element that I think is interesting. Not enough people took advantage of it last year. So, for example, most of the top teams in the Flex 4 game, they had Saquon Barkley. They drafted Chase Barkley. That was the common start to those that were in the top 5 in the standings last year. None of those people in the top 5 flipped their booster and put Barkley at 1. They all had Chase at 1.
Yeah.
If anyone had flipped their booster, they would have won the tournament.
And that would differentiate the chop.
It just would have been the difference, right? So let's say if I have multiple, like last year, if I had multiple Chase Barkley teams, it would be optimal for me to mix it up, to have some with Barkley in the number 1 booster and some with Chase the number 1 booster. And it's probably better. You're better off putting more Barkley than Chase because you're more unique that way than everyone that's just sticking with, okay, my first round guy is my top booster guy. Well, that again, that didn't work out exactly that way last year when you looked at the teams. And so it's interesting to see this year who's going in the second round, who could be that player this year. So if we look at at a Flex 4 draft that just happened, okay, so Flex 4 draft just happened like an hour ago, and in the second round we had Brian Thomas, Ashton Genty. Ashton Genty still went at the 202. That's too late. Okay. So if I'm the person who drafted, let's see what they did. So it's 10-person drafts. So this person took Nico Collins at the 109 and then Ashton Genty at the 201. Okay. He should probably put Genty in the number 1 booster. Just on principle, I think this guy's going to score more fantasy points than Nico Collins now. Right. But talk about exploitable. This is after the draft and Genty's still going second round. That doesn't make any sense. So the conversation I think is between Genty and Gibbs. Wherever Gibbs is going, that's where the conversation should be. Right. I mean, are you guys with me on this, or do you think he's clearly behind Gibbs? I think there's a clear case that there's Barkley, Robinson, Genty is like very difficult to detangle the big 3 running backs.
Yeah.
Well, he's usurped Devon Achane in plenty of formats too.
Oh yeah, dude, of course. I mean, Genty, what do you think is going to happen? There's no one there other than Dylan Lobby and Sincere McCormick. Get out of here. I mean, this it's all teed up, man. They don't have that many receiving options, right? They have a tight end who's epic, great. They have a very good possession receiver, and that's the list. So he's going to catch a bunch of passes. He's going to get all the carries. He might lead the league in like carry share.
Usually running backs drafted that early do.
Yeah. I mean, look at Saquon Barkley in year 1. Look at all these guys. I mean, Trent Richardson had a breakout season in year 1 because the Browns just fed him all season.
What receiver would you threshold Genty towards? So let's go cross position. I
would only take Jamar Chase over Ashton Genty. I would take basically, if it were me drafting, and I can't draft in the flex, obviously, in Flex 4, I would have 4 running backs in my top 5. It would be like Barkley, Bijan, Chase, Genty, Gibbs. Like that's my list. And then like Jefferson and Lamb and Neighbors, but that's my list. I would want those running backs. Those are the maximum upside running backs. And then it's interesting. Like after that, I think it's McCaffrey, right? So where do you take McCaffrey? Where do you take Henry, Achane? I think it's interesting. I think McCaffrey still is the upside play in these tournaments.
I mean, if he's healthy, then he's by far and away, he's going to finish top 1 or top 2 as a running back, handling his normal workload. And there's just Jordan James and Isaiah Garendo, or Isaac Garendo, excuse me, to the Garendo lineage, no disrespect intended, for him to contend with. So there's no one to contend with if he's healthy. So I totally agree with that point.
I mean, in this draft just happened. Doesn't make sense. Judkins and Henderson went after Waddle and Godwin. And David Montgomery, James Conner. Doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. What are we doing?
I'm telling you, if you're watching this program, you need to go get fastdraft.app now and
it's
run
the Flex
this
4 game is the most exploitable right now.
Listen to this, like, and go take advantage. Matt knows what he's talking about. We'll get back to fast draft.
I mean, isn't this the normal? Not normal. Isn't this the most popular, most like chalk advice to give people at this time? And actually, right up until the season kicks off, is that you should be overweight on rookies in seasonal leagues.
Well, especially at the running back position.
Backs.
Yeah, running back position with good landing spots with guys in front of them that are cuttable and don't have huge cap hits and they have better draft capital. Then there's a bunch of that out there.
There's going to be people that, are all the way up until kickoff are just not getting it with RJ Harvey. Like RJ Harvey's ADP in best ball and in all these high stakes leagues. Well, maybe high stakes, his ADP will get right. But any home league, any seasonal league, it's RJ Harvey is it's the offseason will expire before they get his ADP right.
Hey, will it get to RJ Harvey or Marion Hampton?
I think it's close in seasonal leagues. I think it's very close. But now, no, Hampton is the one that's getting moved up.
Right. But coming to August.
Yeah, like in this league, we're talking about this draft. Hampton went 3rd round. Harvey went 6th round. That doesn't make sense. Like, that is crazy. And no, I don't think so. I think that there's something about the 1st round pick that they're going to get the respect, they're going to get the draft capital, and then everyone else, unless they went to Ohio State, is not going to get the respect that they deserve. Caleb Johnson will probably be properly valued because I think that he had so much steam heading into the draft. That residual steam will carry him forward. Plus, the situation is straight up bad. Like, it's a very bad situation. The Steelers they're going to give touches to Warren. They're going to do that. They've already said it. The news has already been released, but we knew that already. And their offensive line's not good, and their offense is going to be bad. And even if they get Aaron Rodgers, it's going to be a very slow offense. And they have these receivers they're trying to feed on the outside. It kind of stinks. Like, in theory, the Steelers investing in a guy like Caleb Johnson feels really good. It makes you feel excellent. He's going to a place that had just, low-level free agent, undrafted free agent, $5 million a year type running backs. If that, I mean, Gainwell's not even making that. Gainwell wishes he was making $5 million. And so he goes to that spot. And you're like, okay, this is a team that likes to run the ball and Mike Tomlin and not much touch competition and, right pedigree. It just feels so good, him going to Pittsburgh. And then when you dig into it and you start thinking through what's going to happen, how much touchdown equity is there really? I don't know.
And as of Sunday, the discussion was Johnson over Harvey. I think that's that's changing a little bit.
Let me get into my question then, because it's really revolving around the power 6 running backs here, Matt. And outside of Genty, there's 2 to 6. Hampton's really steamed up in the last 48 hours, but Henderson, Johnson, Harvey, they seem to be a bit of a logjam before the draft. the landing spots didn't really clear things up. A lot of them got really good draft capital and good landing spots, in my opinion. So are you focusing strictly on value when you're drafting them in drafts right now, rookie drafts, say if we're talking about an Origins league, perhaps taking the best value approach, or you got a guy that you just, are head over heels over, like, for talent wise?
Well, in Origins, they're all first rounders, so it's just you go in your rankings and take the guy in the first round you think is going to score the most fantasy points. It's really that basic. That's the nice thing about Origins is you're just drafting the guy you think is going to score the most fantasy points. You're not worried about position scarcity or your needs or anything. You're just trying to pile into as many guys that you think are going to score as many points as possible. In Superflex, it's an interesting conversation where if you're in a league, I just think I have so many conversations with people in leagues where they're either in hyper competitive leagues that are very savvy, expert leagues. If you're in a traditional, you guys in any like normal Superflex leagues with regular people?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
If you're in normal 2QB Superflex leagues with regular people, they do not let quarterbacks go ever. Right? Ever. It's very interesting, right? It's kind of like, a bunch of professional poker players playing against each other. And then one of them goes and plays against other people. And they're like, dude, why would you ever, these people are crazy with how they value quarterback, right? You can't, they're way overvaluing like, pocket fives or something. You know what I mean? Where like the professionals they're like, oh my God, 10-9 suited. I'm loving this. And then so there's a whole disconnect, right? Mm-hmm. And yet the thing is, if you're in that league and Cam Ward is worth almost Genty in that league, then you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. Yes, you could go with the optimal play, which would be Hampton. But actually, you're better off going Ward because that league can be exploited because they overvalue quarterback, because everyone in that league is terrified. They live in fear of not having enough quarterbacks. You know what I'm talking about. Am I crazy?
No, that'd be trade value.
Yeah, I mean, there are leagues where people live in fear of not having enough quarterback, and they get steamed up and they go 101, 102 in every draft. And then there are leagues where, like, I was in a league, an expert league, the year of Kyle Pitts and Jamar Chase and ETN. Is that the same? Was that Cam Akers?
It was Akers, Dobbins, JT.
Yeah,
Gibson,
Akers, Dobbins.
That's hilarious.
And that was Chase, right? And Waddle. That was all the same. I get those two class years. I get 2020 and 2021 mixed up sometimes. So anyway, I was in this draft, and Herbert and these guys are. Was that the Herbert year?
Was it
2020,
Herbert,
right?
Herbert Love?
Yeah, Herbert slipping. Right, Herbert's falling. I think it was like. Was that Burrow Herbert? Was that the season?
Burrow and Herbert. Yes.
And Herbert fell.
Yeah. And like, so that year, I remember Herbert and Tua, they were falling. And it's like, wait a second. In expert leagues, they were waiting to pick these guys. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like, I guess I have to take Herbert here, and I will. Even in an expert league, I think I'm going to take Herbert. Whereas you have these other leagues where these home leagues where like Herbert's like the 102. Like these guys are going quarterback, boom, 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 right? It's like you can't get quarterback. There's some leagues where it's very straightforward to go get a quarterback, and others where they're hoarding them, and sometimes irrationally. That's the weirdest one. The weirdest leagues are these league mates are hoarding quarterback and yet leaving them available on the waiver wire at the same time. Have you seen this? That's crazy to me. Like Mason Rudolph is available, and yet you guys are just panicking. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're getting into the any QB on a 53 mindset. Scott Connor's big on the RB, and he attested to the QB strategy as well. So you got to have that right mix of people in the league who are scarce on quarterback, not fearful on the cutoff after QB2 because they're stacked. And then you got to have the right amount of people who are hoarders.
You have to be willing. You have to be willing to not feel good about your QB2. You have to be willing to do that.
Especially when you look at how many backup quarterbacks made it into lineups last year, and we're able to carry fantasy teams week after week. You could scan the waiver wire and pick up a guy here and there, and you're not stressing over filling that last spot. You got some good draft capital on some of the other guys you picked up, and you have some depth in your lineup. Yeah, I have no problem with that.
Happens every year.
Hey,
just under
in those leagues, like I don't even mind taking Cam Ward and flipping him.
Well, just under 70 quarterbacks start every single year in the NFL. Shout out to Ray GQ.
Okay, so this is the league I'm talking about. It was 2021. Okay, so 2021, Trevor Lawrence, right? Trevor Lawrence. I was in expert leagues where Trevor Lawrence fell to the 103, 104. Can you believe that? Where it went Jamar Chase, it went Kyle Pitts, and it went like a running back, and then it went like ETN or Najee Harris, okay, and then Lawrence was going 104, 105. So these were expert leagues, and then but Trevor Lawrence was the consensus 101 in these other leagues, where the less sophisticated fantasy gamers that are too nervous about quarterback. He was like Lawrence was the locked in 101. And then I was in these leagues with experts and they were taking Kyle Pitts at the 101 in tight end premium. I was like, oh my God, look at the difference here. These people in this other league, they would never dream of taking Kyle Pitts at the 101. It's just a completely different mindset that people have.
Hey, while we're talking quarterbacks here, I want to talk about Cleveland, man. After the draft, this has turned into an absolute mess. As far as fantasy goes, are you touching this room at all or just avoiding it at all costs?
The quarterbacks?
Yeah.
In Cleveland.
Correct.
I mean, in Superflex and 2QB, I want all these guys. I want Mason Rudolph. I want Jameis Winston. I want Daniel Jones. I want all these guys. I mean, Shedeur Sanders, I don't know what the I don't know what is the demand for Shedeur Sanders. Where is he going right now? I don't have it in front of me. Where is he going in Superflex right now? Is he going at the 1-2 turn?
Oh no,
third, mid third. I got
yeah,
mid third, fourth round. He's sliding. I've seen him going in the middle of the fourth round.
Thank God. You guys know if this was 5 years ago, he would go at the 1-2 turn.
Yeah,
people were so stuck on like now that we know, okay, if the NFL says he's a fourth rounder, you cannot draft him anywhere close to the top 20. Get out of here. So what third? So he's going what late third?
Yeah, probably around there,
mid third.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
I'd rather have Joe Flacco, right? I mean, I'm not. I'm sure he's more affordable than Shedeur Sanders, but Joe Flacco's the type of guy I want. Like, I'm all about these guys. I am happy to be weak at QB2 in Superflex and 2QB. It's one of the great advantages to have. It's one of the great exploits in all of fantasy. I just talked about it. So many people are in so many of these leagues are just remember that draft I was talking about? People drafting Zach Wilson in these leagues over Jamar Chase. That's a thing that happened.
Oh no.
That's what I'm talking about. You guys don't remember this, do you?
Oh, he got steamed up big time.
You guys do not remember this.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, in these, yes, again, in expert leagues, no, that was not happening, right? If you're in super sophisticated dynasty leagues, no, that wasn't happening. But less sophisticated is 2QB, Superflex, these guys were drafting Zach Wilson, Trey Lance at the same ADP as Jamar Chase. They absolutely were. It was a thing that was happening. Most of the time, by the way, it works to just let those quarterbacks go and have the courage to not be sure how good your QB2 is. Not be sure. I'm fine with that. I really want a super strong set it and forget it QB1. That's understandable. But you've got time to figure that out. And you don't have to pay for that. It's not like that guy's that expensive, right? How many quarterbacks are there that aren't that expensive in Superflex and 2QB that you can set your watch by? In the last 2 years, Trevor Lawrence was very attainable. I would feel fine. I'd feel great about Drake May as my QB1. I don't think necessarily Patrick Mahomes is like inexpensive or anything like that, but CJ Stroud, perfectly fine. I mean, Jared Goff is about as secure as it gets. I wouldn't feel bad at all about having Jared Goff as my QB1. How about this? How would you guys feel? What if someone said their QB1? Oh, Purdy. That's the one. You could I just post up Purdy in my QB1. There's no risk to that. It's beautiful. In fact, there's upside with Purdy. If their defense is as bad as it was last year, then Purdy's going to be airing it out. So you have Purdy at my QB1, and then I'll mix it up. I'll figure it out with QB2. Right? We're going to do it. So Tyler Shuck, maybe. Or maybe in this game I'm playing, maybe I already picked up Baker Mayfield 2 years ago when he was a nothing burger.
Bryce Young last year.
Yeah, or you picked up Bryce Young off the scrap heap or whatever, man. And my bench has a bunch of, Daniel Jones types. I'm not letting those guys go. People try to trade for them. I'm like, get out of here. You're not getting a quarterback from me in a throw-in. So these guys that are hoarding quarterback at the top are doing it wrong in Superflex and 2QB. You need to hoard quarterback at the bottom. That's the way to win. You need to have a Daniel Jones and don't let him go. Have a Sam Darnold and don't let him go. Now you can let him go now, right? You can let Sam Darnold go now. Now's the time to let him go, but not Daniel Jones. Like, no.
Yeah.
Let's wait. Let's wait until something happens with Anthony Richardson. Daniel Jones has a couple big games. Then we can talk. But until then, no. He's under. Like, that's probably the last guy that anyone's going to be able to get from me. You're not going to get cold dead hands. You're going to get my Daniel Jones.
Well, you can flip Sam Darnold now since he got the contract security.
Absolutely. Sam Darnold, flip away. In fact, he's already gone.
Yeah.
He's already gone. You've already traded all your Sam Darnold. That's long gone. But like, you don't want to let anyone steal your Bryce Young now or steal your Daniel Jones now before you get the pop. Even like, I don't think Mason Rudolph's going to get a pop, but Mason Rudolph has two really good outside receivers in terms of X receivers. It's interesting. And then guess what? Guess who else is going to have weeks? You know he's going to have weeks. Will Levis. You laugh. I know you laugh. And people were laughing about Daniel Jones 4 years ago, and you're going to have this pop from Daniel Jones. They were laughing about Sam Darnold. They were laughing about Baker Mayfield. Laugh it up. What I say is laugh it up.
It's where it's where we've had this conversation. We had this conversation before.
Am I into reruns with this show? I didn't know that.
It's deja vu.
I think it's a very good conversation.
It's an outstanding
key to victory.
I've been personally harmed, and I'm bringing a class action suit against Will Levis for what he did to my fantasy teams and my personal fandom in 2024. So if you want to get a part of that, you can still do it and then still have him on your fantasy team.
We have yet to see Will Levis behind an offensive line with good receivers. If that happens, like what happened with Jared Goff, then it could be a whole different Will Levis that you see back there. And you're going to eventually have to just come to Jesus and be like, okay, we didn't exactly set Will Levis up for success in Tennessee.
I don't
even like the guy. I'm not a Will Levis guy.
I will capitulate if I can get some sort of value for Will Levis in the manner in which you spoke for Daniel Jones or Sam Darnold. We've seen it. Hopefully, it's not a dead cat.
Can you believe where we're at with Geno Smith right now?
I mean,
talk about a laughing stock.
Hey, you get punched in the face by a teammate, it makes people start to question their decisions and stuff. But He's parlayed that into like $180 million in contracts. So good for him and good for Bigz. I'm sure he's absolutely thrilled having him as the quarterback and not Shedeur Sanders.
Over the moon.
But speaking of,
dodged a bullet there, huh? A lot of these
Speaking of
teams dodged
players-
one, man. The Giants really dodged one.
Sweated for 3 days.
Woo! Raiders dodged one.
speaking of players that are potentially getting rejuvenized, I would like to ask you who are some of the guys that are getting that like the biggest risers from draft weekend to now in the fast draft ADP, particularly origins.
Tyler Shuck, dude.
Yeah,
Tyler Shuck, RJ Harvey.
yeah.
So let's look at the latest draft. Draft just happened like 2 seconds ago. Drafts are ripping like crazy on fast draft right now. So Tyler Shuck, not a first round. Okay, so Emeka Egbuka goes at the 110 before Shuck. That's not right. Dart goes before Shuck. I don't agree with that. Shuck does not get drafted until the 209 behind Colston Loveland. This is what I'm talking about. That's so exploitable. What are we doing here? He went behind Jaden Blue. He went behind Jaden Higgins. Trey Harris actually is in line for some opportunity this year. I love Trey Harris this year. I love Trey Harris in general now.
Yeah.
So, okay, at least he went before Luther Burden. But, I mean, I think some people just assume that these ADPs correct right away. They don't.
Beautiful.
They don't correct right away.
As I enter into another fast draft.
Brashard Smith went at the 309 after Devin Neal. I mean, okay. Fine. I mean, things could go very well for Brashard Smith. I mean, incredibly well.
Do the meme. Do the meme. Put it on the screen, Bigz. Put it on the screen right now.
Sorry. That's a Chev guy. Brashard Smith is a Chev guy.
Without question. No equivocations.
He's fast. He can catch. They need someone to play that role. The running backs they have are very dusty. There's a guy though, and RC Fisher brought this up on the Mind of Mansion show, and because there's going to be more injuries this year at the running back position, because there always has been and always will be more injuries than there were last year. Carson Steele, even guys like Carson Steele, there's just a few names that I want to make sure I'm not forgetting. Right? There's just certain names like we talked about in Las Vegas. Don't forget about Dylan Lobby. Technically, he's going to be, I think he's in line to be a third down back. If there's one guy that's going to get some touches outside of Genty, that where actually it makes sense. And if Brady's there and he's used to a, Woodhead, James White type player, well, that's Lobby. So don't forget about Dylan Lobby. Don't forget about Carson Steele. And I don't know. That's about it. Oh, well, now I was going to say Isaiah Davis, but I think it's even though they said Breece Hall was on the block before the draft, I think that was just, posturing before the draft, trying to figure out their draft board, saying, hey, you want to trade for Breece Hall? That helps us figure out our draft board. But don't forget about Kenny Gainwell. There's some players that I don't want to forget about.
Roschon Johnson,
Michael Carter,
Kendra Miller.
Don't forget about Roschon Johnson. Yeah. Well, Roschon Johnson, let's see. They unfortunately, Monangai went there, and Monangai's a pretty good player. So
real physicality.
But next year they're probably gonna draft a running back. But Roschon is very interesting, right? Roschon's a good receiver. DeAndre Swift doesn't really want to be there. We'll see if he even shows up to camp. See if he shows up overweight. These are some things to think about. Meanwhile, you have the Roschon Johnson team captain, all around good player. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Roschon this year.
Yeah, let me shift it up a little bit. Talking about fast draft, I'm going to talk about D up real quick. So I am an IDP lover. I play in IDP leagues, and it's still kind of a shadow platform. Like it's a shadow format. Not a whole lot of people are playing it. They don't understand it. Is there any element to the D up scoring that provides a different experience or like an edge that players can get than simply targeting high tackle linebackers? Because that seems to be kind of what IDP is you grab all the high tackle linebackers you can get, hope they get 250 points. What sets the D up game apart from just like standard sleeper IDP scoring?
Well, first of all, anyone that wants to join an all defense best ball tournament, there's a draft book to rip off in the D up that only needs one more. And you're drafting defensive players, top 4 of your 6 into your lineup every week in this best ball format. So we have 3 points for a forced fumble, 2 points for tackles for loss, 6 points for a sack, 6 points for a safety. So we have big points for edge rushers. Edge rushers are the premium position on D up. It's both edge rushers and, of course, high tackle linebackers. So very balanced scoring. There's about 3 or 4 or 5 D backs, mostly safeties, that get drafted. So yeah, I think it's cool because some of these high tackle linebackers, they're technically not that good. They don't command big contracts, a lot of draft capital. So when they're at the top of an ADP, it's weird, right? I like D up because when you go to D up on fast draft, the guys that are at the top are the guys that we all know are good and are difference makers in real NFL and are making all the money and getting all the draft capital. So I like seeing Hutchinson. I like seeing TJ Watt. I like seeing those guys at the top. Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett. Those are the guys that should be at the top, in my opinion. And it just so happens that the scoring is such that those guys are at the top. I think the first linebacker off the board is Zaire Franklin.
Yeah.
Tackling fuel. Yeah, Zaire Franklin's a tackling machine. Boo to the
it
coach.
makes sense. He's great. He's very good fantasy defensive player, but not as exciting as strip sacks, tackles for loss, stuff from a Max Crosby.
So going back to origins and the rookie on the offensive side of the ball, Matt, can you tell us who is significantly undervalued and whose market do you think is just overheated completely? So divergently, who should be going in opposite directions? Right now, there's a player who's too high and a player that's too low. Who stands out?
So we just talked about the draft just happened while we were talking. And this is the first draft. We have RJ Harvey going ahead of Tet McMillan. So that's interesting.
Oh,
wow. Tet McMillan's going to be a monster this year. So I would not sleep on Tet McMillan. Tet McMillan is teed up to be, he's everything you want, all the production you want early in your career, late in your career, consistency. And he found an NFL team that wasn't buying what Todd McShay was peddling. This a weak at the catch point nonsense. I was a sucker for it. I thought that's what teams were thinking about poor Tet McMillan. And so I fell for the banana in the tailpipe on that. But it's almost always going to be running backs. Like in this particular draft that just went off, only Scadaboo was the only running back to go second round. Rest of it was, Shuck and Trey Harris and Higgins and all these guys. I think that Jaden Blue is going to be very interesting, and he's a guy I'm targeting. I don't know. Chev, who would you rather have right now, Blue or Smith, Brashard Smith? Who would you rather have?
Me personally?
In fantasy.
That's the wrong guy, this question.
Yeah.
It's Brashard Smith.
But you agree, Blue maybe has an easier path to touches, right?
And that's where you were at with Rico Dowdle too, because you were the one holding the flag for Rico Dowdle for a while.
Well, so the interesting thing here is you've got the role that they've been trying to fill with with various players outside of Jerick McKinnon since Jerick McKinnon left. I mean, they were looking for guys to be able to catch passes. Like they throw it to Kareem Hunt and he would like fall down and maybe, kick somebody on the way down. Isaiah Pacheco just wasn't very good, when he came back from the tibia injury, tibia or fibula. I can't remember which one it was, but he just wasn't very good or efficient. So, and then there's Carson Steele, and then there's Brashard Smith, who represents all the things that they need. And that offense functioned at an elite level when Jerick McKinnon was catching passes out of the backfield. He won people fantasy championships. And this is almost a 1-to-1 comparison in terms of what his abilities are and what's missing from the backfield in that offense. So I personally understand why people say Jaden Blue, but I mean, they've spoken lovingly about how Javonte Williams fits in Clayton Adams' gap scheme and how Miles Sanders can really play and he's earned his stripes and all that stuff. So I'm going to believe that they're not just going to cut those guys or not give them touches in year one, unless Jaden Blue just blows everybody's socks off.
Okay. I like it.
And how much?
I like it. I like it. I think it's close. I think it's very close.
It definitely is close. Yeah. I'm not saying that there's a vast chasm when it comes to who does what, but I think that for me, I've been, after watching Brashard Smith's film and almost like drooling at different points of it, I can't get off the fact that he's with one of the best quarterbacks in the best ecosystem in a role that they struggled to replicate without a type of back like a satellite back like Jerick McKinnon.
Jaden Blue has pretty good tape too. But okay, so 5th round, okay, fast draft origins just happened. This just happened. Touchdowns are a big deal in fantasy football. Am I right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So let me talk. Go
Points
through this.
Good.
Let's do
Points
the thought experiment. Who's going to score touchdowns here? You ready? So it goes top of the 5th round. Harold Fannin, Savion Williams, Isaac Tesla, Ty Felton, Taj Brooks, Jordan James, Pat Bryant, Trevor Etienne, Torrey Horton, Gunnar Helm. What player doesn't belong in the 5th fucking round?
Let's see here.
Are you talking Taj Brooks?
Yes, Taj Brooks.
I
mean, the way I did the inflection of my voice, yes. I can guarantee you that the Bengals are very happy that they have Taj Brooks, and they're going to be very happy when they see him in camp, and they're like, okay, this is a guy that we can plug and play in a lot of different situations between the 20s and potentially at the goal line. We don't love how much we had to use Chase Brown last year in all these different situations. Chase Brown has great utility in the hurry up offense and in a lot of different packages. But Taj Brooks is going to have a role in what was the top scoring passing game last year, and one of the highest scoring offenses with one of the worst defenses. Taj Brooks is an incredible pick. He is the best pick in all of Dynasty right now in rookie drafts. I don't think it's close. The upside, the contingent upside, I'm not even talking about an injury, right? Contingent upside for DJ Giddens is incredible, right? But Taj Brooks actually has some standalone value because Chase Brown is not an every down workhorse type player like Jonathan Taylor is. So this idea that even if you like DJ Giddens for this year, I mean, you got to go Taj Brooks, man. Like there's some real potential for that team to be like, this guy is what we need. And we could you could absolutely see the coaches being like, thunder and lightning. Can't you see it? I can hear it right now.
To make you feel a little bit better,
go ahead.
I saw him go in the beginning of the 4th round today in a rookie mock, so he's not sliding that far anymore. So people are on him, and maybe because of guys like you that are steaming him up right now. I mean, he's got a really good opportunity for some, playing time right out of the gate here. So yeah, I like that call.
Thank God. Thank you. And I do like DJ Giddens a lot. I love contingent upside. I especially on a guy with the chronic ankle problems. I love the contingent upside of DJ Giddens. I love Taj Brooks. And then, same thing with Dylan Sampson. I mean, Dylan Sampson, he's going to be knocking on the door. Judkins, again, a lot of rookie running backs struggle with injuries and just, you never know.
What's your temperature on Devin Neal there in New Orleans?
Devin Neal is another one. Now, RC Fisher thinks that Devin Neal is just a guy.
RC Fisher's wrong.
Yeah, I think that's pretty. I like Devin Neal. I think he's kind of an all-purpose, good player. I don't think he's as good as DJ Giddens, but I think he's a Taj Brooks level player, and I think that it just if he went to the Bengals, we'd be really liking him. It's just that the Saints is a very tricky situation. There's not a lot to like there. Alvin Kamara is super established, but you could carve out a role. I think the easier role to carve out, though, is Woody Marks. Like, Mixon has no business, playing on the outside, playing on third downs. It's over for that. Like, they need to just use him between the tackles and call it a day, and then find someone else that has more dynamism in these other elements of the game. And that's why they drafted Woody Marks, and he was a former receiver. So I like Brashard Smith. Why? Former receiver. I like Woody Marks. Why? Former receiver. Jaden Blue. Like, these guys are really good receivers. So and they have roles teed up for them. And so I like this. I like this role for Marks. I like the Texans offense a lot. I like CJ Stroud a lot this year. Now they've decided to talk about making a statement with your weaponry. Wow. Texans are doing it. Brother.
Yeah, the Texans did a lot in their draft this year, and I think Jeremiah spoke on one of our shows that he steamed up CJ Stroud. He's a guy that came off a low year, and now he's got a bunch of weapons around him. What are your thoughts before we wrap this up on CJ Stroud there, Podfather?
Yeah, I think CJ Stroud, he's probably the most expensive QB1 I'm looking at right now. Right. So I talked about how Purdy is in the center of my Venn diagram for QB1s in Superflex and 2 QB leagues. Stroud is the high end. Right. Stroud, I really like. I don't think he's going anywhere. I like that they're investing in him, in his weapons. I thought he had a really impressive college profile. He's done nothing to, I think, convince me that he's anything other than, a long-term cornerstone player for their franchise. Even though like in Dynasty, he's taken quite a fall, right? So he was like top 5. Now he's closer to 10, QB 9, 10. I think Drake May is just very expensive in Superflex all of a sudden. You had to get him last year, or now it's going to be very difficult to get him. Herbert, though, I think Herbert is my starting point. I want Herbert. I want Stroud. I want Purdy. Those are the 3 quarterbacks that I want to build around, that I can feel the best about. Set it and forget it. The top of my Superflex and 2 QB dynasty teams. And then I'm just figuring it out at QB2. And I think that's a real way to get leverage on the field. Use those bench spots in Dynasty, especially in 2 QB leagues, to have, say, 3 or 4 quarterbacks that have outs. Like Jameis Winston. Who do you think Jameis Winston's going to start games this year, guys?
I hope so.
4 games. 4
Maybe
games.
a handful, yeah.
I don't.
The
think
people
he's
deserve
gonna
it.
start at all.
Well, Bigz is convinced that Jackson Dart's going to win the job in camp, so his answer is no. But I'm convinced that we're going to get possibly the greatest 3-week stretch of Malik Neighbors that mankind has ever seen, and we're gonna, that's going to feed families. I mean, this is the quintessential fantasy boom waiting to happen if we can get We can just get Russ out of the way. Maybe he gets his wife pregnant again and she goes into labor during training camp and he has to miss some time. They let the young pup who doesn't even know how to call out a cadence. We let him get that figured out during training camp. And then we get pure Jameis.
4 games from Jameis, guys.
Yes.
So you got to have Jameis on your fantasy team. You got to have him. You got to have him on. And why would you have Tua? Right? Tua's not moving the needle at all. And yet in Superflex and 2QB, you have to pay something to get him. Mm-hmm. Right? You have to give up a decent asset to get Tua. He's not free. Right? So, but a guy like Winston, and the guys below him, the Daniel Joneses, the Winstons, the Kirk Cousins, they're all, and then you also can take shots on guys like Joe Milton. Yeah, this is what I'm trying to do. This is what I'm trying to do. Will Levis, 6 or 7 of these guys on my taxi squad on my bench in 2QB.
Mac Jones
is a great one. Oh my God, that's the one.
That's sexual, right behind Purdy.
Oh my God, yes, he would be awesome. I have all those Purdy, so I don't want that to happen, obviously. But
they arbitrage, right?
Yes, absolutely. If you have Purdy, you must have Mac Jones. If you just let Mac Jones sit on the waiver wire, if you have Purdy and 2QB, you're an idiot. All these leagues, most of them, they go 30 deep. I'm sure you have a player you can drop for Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Anyway, absolutely. I can't believe that's how we're ending the show.
That's how we're ending it on Mac Jones.
Ending it on Mac Jones talk. That's pretty cool.
But remember what he did to Brian Thomas Jr. last year. He helped him break out, right? Is that what happened, Schultz?
Hey, and remember where he went in his rookie drafts.
Okay, so technically we ended it with Brian Thomas talk. I like that.
There you go.
Yes.
Podfather, what an honor to have you on this show. You helped a lot of us get our feet in the door in this industry, and we really, really appreciate you coming on, spending over an hour with us, talking ball, talking, your platforms that have been so successful, and we wish you all the best with Fast Draft. It is coming a long way, and hopefully we'll see it up here in Canada sooner than later, so I can start talking some origins and getting into some of these tournaments that you guys have been, grinding out for the last, year or so. So Matt, tell everybody where they can find you and all your stuff. Obviously we know where we can find it.
Well, yeah, we've had some breakthroughs with Canada. We are very, very close. We've been developing this ID scan to get around to kind of address the identity verification thing that we have to do for Canada. To be in compliance. So the tech is very close for us to opening up Canada, with the exception of Ontario. I know it's a big exception. Okay, I get it. It's a big exception. But still, there's something like 40 million people in Canada.
Yeah.
And the vast majority live outside Ontario. So this is good news.
And what? We're going to be a part of your country in probably half the year anyway. So you're probably going to go through all this work anyway. And we're going to be the 53rd state or whatever it is there.
Oh, man.
Just America, Junior. You want to
yeah,
people from I'm from Northern Maine. People from Northern Maine respect the hell out of Canada, dude. So yeah,
we all respect Canada. Maple syrup is so underrated.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we that's you won't be hearing that nonsense from me. I think I talked about this on the podcast. I sang the Canadian national anthem in school.
Awesome.
There it is.
No way.
In French, right?
Oh, Canada. Yeah.
Did you wear a
Oh, Canada.
That's French.
My home and native land. We used to sing that.
That's
It
awesome.
was crazy. We used to sing both.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I love it.
Anyway, so we have a lot of French speakers and loggers. Yeah, it's great.
People would say, "Oh yeah,
oh yeah." So, big, very excited to open up places like Halifax and New Brunswick, places like that. And yes, you can follow me at fantasy_mansion on the Twitter machine, X, whatever. And of course, playerprofiler.com is the website that we all know and love. And Fast Draft, FastDraft.app is the new best ball platform that everyone loves because it's just it's a place to get your receipts.
Is there a promo code they should use, Matt?
You can. Well, I mean, I don't know. Don't you guys have some promo codes here? There's probably a promo code Bigz or a promo code Chev.
Yep.
I'm sure there's a bunch of promo codes you could use.
Chev 90. Use that promo code.
Chev. Okay, let's use that one. We'll use Chev 90. Everyone use Chev 90. You get a $50 deposit match with Chev 90. That's the code to use.
Booth is the code to use.
Or Booth.
That's
or
too hard
Booth
to
if you
spell.
want to do Booth
Way
too.
too hard
Booth
to
is also
spell.
good. Booth is great. Chev 90 is great. They're all great.
Coach?
I don't know. Coach
Retzlaff
might be a code. We'll get everybody codes.
Yep.
But bottom line is, this was very much needed. A new platform just to speed up fantasy for the next generation. And because people love drafting, so let's go.
Absolutely. Matt, we want to thank you so much for all the opportunity that you've given us in the industry and also for coming on the show tonight. Everybody out there, go download FastDraft.app now, and we'll see you next week.
Peace out, everybody.
Win.